The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Okay. Happy early Diwali, okay? The Festival of Light. That being said, I don't think I'm keeping it that light on one of my favorite Canucks of all time. That was, that felt as if it was a lot on him, okay? Let's get into it. This Canucks lost to the Hurricanes. Welcome to Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. A couple minutes after they just lost to the Carolina Hurricanes in overtime, 4-3. My name is Kyle Bowen, and this time the episode is being hosted at what? The Burnaby Gardens, okay? One left to Don't-Dos, one left to the Gardens. We doing this for the West Coast bias, and we giving you your Canucks every day, again, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Hit the like button, subscribe to the show. If you're listening to this on the podcast side, hey, leave us a 5-star review, okay? It's the holidays. Christmas is coming up. I want to take my mom to Cactus Club. Anyways, let's get into this game, and let's get into these comments, because man, oh man, I watched that game, and you also did as well. And you know what? Off the top, I thought I was going to go down a dark path. I thought I was going to fly out to space and do some one-on-one talking with Elias Pettersson, okay? For real. Holding him accountable, because that was not good enough. But let's start off with this, okay? Cashman for the win, commenting that we got to start off the show by talking about Lankinen, okay? And I think we have to do that. Again, the Canucks lose 4-3 in overtime. They come back from a 3-run deficit in the third period, do their thing. That this team is proving to be very pesky. They're never out of games. They showed it in the playoffs. They're showing it right away this season as well, right? Saw it against Pittsburgh. Even saw it to an extent against Calgary after they blew that lead. All right, late in the game, Miller ties it up. This team does not give up. That being said, they kind of did give up multiple times throughout the game. Real talk. And if it's not for Kevin Lankinen being, again, the biggest steal in NHL free agency history, this game is over with. Okay? A lot of leftover samosas at Rogers Arena because people are just leaving early. Kevin Lankinen was unbelievable the whole way through. And what I like about Kevin Lankinen, okay? He's doing his thing. Making saves. But it's the way he's doing it. And I'm not talking about the athletic point of view, okay? I'm talking about his mentality. There's moments where you think a goalie who gets signed right in the middle of training camp, okay? You think that guy is out there for a reason still. And it's mainly because he doesn't have it. Yeah, this guy time in and time out doesn't break. Kevin Lankinen does not break, right? He lets in 2 goals against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And what does he do? He robs. I think it might have been Chris Letang. A highlight robbery, okay? Keeps the door down, or shuts the door down. Doesn't make it 3-0, and the Canucks, they win that game. In this game, the Hurricanes all over the Canucks for like 35 minutes, scores 3-1, and Kevin Lankinen multiple times in the second period, and Kevin Lankinen multiple times in the third period, proving once again that he may just be the biggest steal in NHL free agency history, okay? Again, this is the home of the West Coast bias, and this is the home of Trevor Beggs. Hey, Trevor Beggs, joining us on the postcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. There you go. You did it, okay? Your Canucks over your family, okay, and your sleep and your health. 31 and a half years old, okay? Start talking about Lankinen, okay?
Oh, man. Give Lankinen the Vezina, man. God damn. Look, the fact that they tied this game is solely on Kevin Lankinen, right? What did he have? At least 3 5-alarm saves in this game to, even keep this thing close. And, I probably heard you alluding to it a bit there, but, the Hurricanes are just a damn good hockey team. And I know there's probably some critiques you can make at the Canucks tonight, but, my main takeaway is that, we talk a lot in Vancouver about the Canucks getting the coaching bump through Adam Foote, but the Hurricanes have the ultimate coaching bump. That is just a goddamn hockey team right there. They know how to play the game. And even when they're shorthanded, it's like this team is playing at even strength, man. You don't even notice that they're a man down. They're
Yeah.
unbelievable, but Kevin Lankinen, the first star for your Vancouver Canucks in this one. I mean, he was just absolutely unbelievable, and bailing out his team on a couple of occasions, man, because the Hurricanes, they come at you fast.
Yeah, and the Canucks defense had so many breakdowns, and they were a lot slower than the Hurricanes. And it's one of the games you have to look truthfully at. And again, I'm proud of the Canucks for being pesky. I think the ceiling of this team allows them to come back from 2-goal deficits. Okay, but that mainly is possible because this team without Demko, and we saw it with Shelovs as well. Last spring, look, their goaltenders keep them in games. You know what I'm saying? Like they really hold it down. Again, they don't break. It was impressive, and give credit where credit is due. Again, the Canucks doing the thing. Pius Suter, good all game, had so many chances, and ultimately, again, ties it up late in the third period, gets us a point. And you know what, Trevor? Right? We're 31 and a half years old. Let's be honest with the people, okay? You got to take the little wins in life. That's how you win in this thing called life, okay? You win on the daily by just appreciating the moment. And the Canucks, after 8 games, have points in 7 of their first 8 games, okay? Moral victory, sure, but the Canucks have only been good for 13 months, and I'll take that.
Man, oh man, how about moral victories for the Locked On Canucks? Man, come on. I'm taking a moral victory here because, in July, we made our predictions for lines that we wanted to see. And Kyle, I don't know if you noticed tonight, but Rick Tocchet went with one of my lines from predictions back in July. And some people said it couldn't be done. Some people said it shouldn't be done. But Nils Höglander and Daniel Sprong ended up on the same line tonight with Pius Suter. The line that, by the way, gave the Canucks the game-tying goal there. Sure, that was maybe largely thanks to Peter Kochetkov. I mean, this guy, he had too many Red Bulls at the intermission, man. I mean, Kochetkov is he's crazy, bro. He's crazy. He's got a Red Bull in the water bottle or what, man? Unbelievable.
Yo, come on, man. You know how it gets down on the Wally? Okay, you know how it gets down? Straight up, man. The jalebi, right? The gulab jamun. Okay, I said that wrong. Again, I'm a Hindu. I'm not Punjabi, so I get it all wrong. I get it twisted. But one day, mark my words, man, a Timbit at Tim Hortons will have the flavor of gulab jamun. Okay, real talk. Gulab jamun. We're not jamming tonight. We didn't get the win, but we did get that point. And we're reading these comments, man, because again, Trevor and I watched the game, but you watched that game as well. Look at this one, okay? Sev says Elias Pettersson suck. Bro, Trevor, man, you know me. I look after my neighbors, especially those that have given us a lot of good memories. I'm a big Elias Pettersson fan, but he was horrible today. He was. That was one of the worst Elias Pettersson games in a long time, and that's saying something.
It was one of the games that does make you worry about the guy moving forward, because what have we said that the last couple of games? Like, he's making progress. He's making progress. So, he's coming on. And some people said, it's not going to be gradual. When he comes on, he's just going to be back. It'll be one game. But it does seem like he kind of takes 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I would say that's what happened tonight, right? I mean, Höglander wasn't really going that much tonight either. So you put Baines up there for a bit. Man, oh man, on an aside here, Rick Tocchet loves Archie Baines, man. I think Rick Tocchet might love Archie Baines more than the people at Surrey, man. I mean, I don't say Baines is playing bad, but he's not playing unbelievably. But he just keeps getting opportunities, man. I mean, good for the kid. I mean,
you know what, Trevor? I got to rebuttal a bit. I didn't like that switch. Honestly, I did not like that switch. That I just felt as if it was unnecessary. And if you were going to make that play, this sounds crazy, but I feel as if you want a little bit more offense. You're down by 2 goals. Like Daniel Sprong might be that guy. And I just didn't feel as if Archie Baines completely deserved it. And I think also I was against that choice because why would you break up Höglander, Garland, and Pettersson early? I know they struggled a lot in this game, but nobody else outside of maybe like Pius Suter or Kiefer Sherwood or Teddy Bluger, we're really pushing the needle.
Honestly, that's the problem with the Canucks team right now in general. And I think, we see it in the comments, and a lot of people want to point fingers at Pettersson tonight. And granted, he wasn't that good, but I don't think Miller had an amazing game either. Brock Besser, he sets up Besser for the first goal, so they do get on the score sheet, give him credit for that. But overall, I don't think they played a strong game. And Kyle, like you said, up front, the main guy standing out for this team tonight, and really it's kind of been that way for a little bit now, is the bottom 6 guys. Kiefer Sherwood and Teddy Bluger, again, were 2 of the best Canucks tonight.
Dude, Trevor, how are we doing this? How are we starting this comment out with Elias Pettersson and then going out to Kiefer? We got to talk about this. Like, let's not talk about the depth. Let's just center in on the issue, because I feel it in my heart that something like it didn't feel right watching Pettersson play tonight because, you brought it up. Brock Besser's line wasn't really consistent for the first 38 minutes of this game, right? Primetime matchup, Carolina Hurricanes, good team, and they looked outclassed, even though they got that goal early on, okay? Real talk. But at the end of the day, even at the bare minimum, they still showed up. They still got 2 points each. Miller, Besser, Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes wasn't perfect all game. He was pretty bad in the first period, first 30 minutes, like the whole team, causing a ruckus, looking like Vincent Darnay out there. But what does he do? He shows up when it matters, and that's on the scoreboard. And I just felt as if this would have been a nice time to have Pettersson have a flashback, remind himself who he is, and will this team to victory, or, will this team to get a point? And yeah, we still got a point, and maybe I'm sounding super pessimistic here, but it just would have been nice for him, being Elias Pettersson, to, again, have his night. And it was the exact opposite, to be honest. Like, that was bench worthy. It really was.
Yeah, and fair enough, right? Those like you said, Kyle, Besser, Miller, Hughes, all get on the score sheet tonight. And you've been saying that for a while. Like you said, wouldn't it be nice if Pettersson got on the score sheet? Yeah, we've been saying that for a while. That it would be nice if Elias Pettersson got on the score sheet. And I think there's a mix of emotions in the comments here too. Infamous saying that PD didn't think PD looked that bad. Lots of uncharacteristic mistakes from Miller and Hughes. Hughes had a couple god awful passes that were lucky didn't turn into goals tonight, right? Like again, those guys end up on the score sheet, but they didn't play great games either. Richards in the comments saying, it takes time to fully recover from injuries, alluding to PD's injury. And we also got Jacob Cozy saying that he thinks Pettersson could get traded at the deadline. So Canucks Nation is all over the place on Elias Pettersson. But I think the general consensus is whether you're a PD believer or not, there's certainly frustration with this player. Because, and again, I still don't want to overreact because Kyle, I know we kind of said, when do we start overreacting on PD? And we are, 8 games into the season now. Look, it is still October. And I still think this guy's showing flashes, but he's just a far cry from the player he was. And I don't know how dark you want to get, Kyle, but I mean, again, if PD's not at that superstar level, this team could still be good, but I'm not sure if they're a Stanley Cup contending or Stanley Cup leading contender right now.
Yeah, it's again, I'm emotional, and you said a lot of the right things there. Then you're talking about like Stanley Cup contenders, and you know the deal, man. Like, yeah, we can get a point and thug it out in one game against the Carolina Hurricanes, a playoff-worthy team in the regular season because this team is pesky. But over 7 games, the Vancouver Canucks are going absolutely nowhere further than they did last year if Pettersson isn't Elias Pettersson. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. And I know it's early on, and we don't have to attach those two sentiments together. But right now, it's 8 games. And he has 4 points in 8 games. And there's not been one moment where he's been the best player on the Vancouver Canucks in those first 8 games. And I would even argue that he hasn't even been close to being a top 3 player.
Been better. Sherwood's been better. Garland's
maybe
been better.
Tampa Bay, he's probably the second best player. Maybe he's the best player in a 4-1 effort. I'll give him that. But few and far between, man. And it just would have been nice. A lot of people were watching that game tonight. It's Carolina, Vancouver, prime time. Both teams looking good going into this game. And again, the Canucks pick up a point there. They're pesky. They're a good team. They're going to find ways to get it done. But just a concerning effort from Pettersson, in my opinion. And one that I need to drink some water and drink some green tea, okay? That begs you can either pick another comment, get to some ads. You got to get me off this tangent because I don't want to talk down on, again, it's Pettersson, man. He's done a lot for us, okay? He's played a lot of games for the Canucks. He's brought us hope. I've said it. I wrote about this. I keep saying this. Like, there's no JT Miller without Pettersson. He kind of opened the door for the Canucks window with Quinn Hughes, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt by the time it's 12 o'clock tonight because, man, oh, man, I'm already annoyed at myself.
All right, well, let's get some ads quick again. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, the post-game show, your Canucks every day and sometimes every night. 2 things I want to get to on the other side. Why the Canucks should be more like the Dallas Stars. It could be the key to fixing the power play. I'll give you one hot take on the Carolina Hurricanes as well. I'll come back on the other side after we shout out our friends over at FanDuel and Indeed. All right. Let's go to Indeed first. Okay, if you need to hire, you need Indeed. They're your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. And they got a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, and more. Indeed, they don't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is that if you want to get hired by the Elise Pettersson fan club, I mean, baby, they are looking for candidates right now. Just go apply and find that job on Indeed. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Listeners of the show, you will get a $75 sponsored job credit. Wow. To get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this very podcast. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right. And then we're over to our friends at FanDuel, okay? You know the deal. They are America's #1 sportsbook, okay? And right now, if you bet $5, you'll get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just a $5 bet. And Kyle, you know, in this one, the Vancouver Canucks were a slight underdogs against the Carolina Hurricanes. And man, oh man, they looked like underdogs tonight. I don't know if did I jinx this team earlier, Kyle? Remember, for those who didn't listen to our show, 8 hours ago, I said the Vancouver Canucks should have better Stanley Cup odds than the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, you did.
So I think I screwed us over. So blame the loss on Begsy
Okay.
tonight. If you want to have better luck than me, make sure you go visit FanDuel.com/locked-on.
One love to FanDuel. Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about that game that we just saw a couple minutes ago. Begsy, again, choosing the Canucks over his family, choosing the Canucks over his well-being, okay? This guy is such a good dude, a groovy dude, a peaceful dude, a dude who helps his neighbors out, a good Samaritan, and it's mainly because he sleeps 9 hours a day and is a father of 2. Like, you get what I'm saying? This guy has superpowers. He's unlocked it, okay? And that's that thing called discipline. Speaking of which, okay, look at this. Smirky Mixer saying this, okay? It's not even Christmas. PD has 4 points through 8 games. You haters look dumb. When Pettersson has a 4-point night, you haters will look dumb. That's what I meant to say. I read the 4 differently in that sentence because he does have 4 points in 8 games. Look, again, I am a Pettersson fan, a big supporter. I know he's the guy, that guy. But I think it's safe to say in this economy and in this moment in game 8, because it's game 8. It's not game 3. It's not game 4. It's game 8. I know it's not game 20 or game 30, but it's game 8. It just would have been nice to see a little bit more from him, or a lot more from him tonight. Would have been the moment.
Yeah, I started thinking too, Kyle, and maybe I just my ego got a little too high looking at that Höglander Sprong Suter line that I wanted to see out there doing some things tonight. But I still wonder if a way to get Pettersson going is, again, putting Miller back with Pettersson. Sorry, not Miller. Besser back with Pettersson. DeBrusque, Besser, Pettersson was the line that I wanted to see come into this season. No, I don't think Miller and Besser are killing it together right now. That's something I want to see, man. And I've been saying that for a long time. I've been banging that drum for a while. I mean, Besser and Pettersson, it seems like a lifetime ago when those two guys back in 2018 with Pettersson as a rookie, Besser in his second year, looked like they're going to be the NHL's next great forward duo. And then it just kind of fizzled out after the Lotto line was done back in 2019-20. So, again, those are the two guys I want to see together. And let's see if it can happen, because Besser up front, again, I think he's one of the best Canuck forwards right now. I think Besser has been a bit cleaner overall than Miller. I'd say probably, Besser, Sherwood, Blueger, Garland, and Höglander. Those are in some mix or some way, shape, or form, those are my top 5 Canuck forwards so far this season.
Yeah. My list would be similar too. And it's interesting to hear you say that you wouldn't mind seeing a split up between number 9 and number 6. Because even though in games like this, where you're correct, right? Collectively speaking, they haven't, again, shown 3 solid periods per game where their chemistry is just off the charts, right? But at the same time, as we alluded to, they still pick up points. And I don't know if I'd split those guys. That being said, I like the storybook feel of having one of those guys be Pettersson's winger or helping Pettersson find his game. And it would be way better if that story and that character actually belonged to JT Miller, like the antagonist, protagonist to Pettersson, you know what I'm saying? And if he was the hero to get him going, that'd be something else. And like I said, you got to look after your neighbors. It's a mental thing. It really is. It's all in his head. Something's off. And I thought after his first goal, he would have bounced back off of that very, very quickly. As Cashman is saying, I think we hit the PD panic button a quarter into the season. Trevor, buy me some patience. Okay, how do I do it?
I think he makes a fair point, right? It's October, man. We're talking about a team that I still think is a bona fide playoff team, a team that's picked up points in 7 of its first 8 games, doing so behind a goalie that was a freaking free agent a month ago. So there's still a lot to talk about the Canucks right now, man. This is a team who earlier today we were talking about potentially having one of the deepest offenses in the NHL. And I know there's a presumption there that there's, Pettersson has to be going at his best, but even if Pettersson's at this weird floor being like at 50, 60 point guys, it's still one of the best offenses in the NHL, in my opinion, because there's just so many guys that can go. And again, the bottom 2 lines for a large chunk of the season have been the better lines, which again isn't great news for this hockey team, but there's always going to be ebbs and flows. And I just think there's some added pressure based on what happened last season, man. But I don't know, man. I'm just believing in Pettersson to bounce back. Now, one area where I do wonder if the Canucks should make some changes. We're talking a lot about changes here again, coming off a loss. Canucks losing 4-3 to the Hurricanes in overtime. The power play. Now, Kyle, I've been telling you this idea for a bit, and I truly believe that the Canucks should seriously look at almost having their first 2 power play units compete with each other and break them up. So you almost have like a 1A and a 1B. Now, the Dallas Stars did this recently. I don't know if you noticed, but their power play wasn't going to start the season. Heiskanen didn't have a point. So they shook up their power plays, and then they went 3 for 5 over the weekend after shaking up those power plays. I'm not saying it's the perfect answer, but I'm just saying a little internal competition. Maybe it's Pettersson and Besser on one unit with Hronek. Maybe it's Miller and Hughes on another. But having a 1A, 1B for the Canucks power play, to me, could make some sense here, especially since it's just not doing anything.
Yo, it's killing momentum. It's just stalling everything out. It feels like that. The Canucks are lucky to have a lot of depth in their bottom 6 and we saw it today, like immediately after this team just has a horrible power play and you think momentum's going to completely die out. I mean, I feel as if it did in the first period. Did the Canucks get a period a power play in the first period? At some point, I just felt as if the power play sucked. It sucked ass. And like, the whole team deflated after. Okay. Anyways, that wasn't really the case in the second half of this game. So I guess I got to contradict myself here. And again, they're lucky that they have depth and speed and tenacity throughout their bottom 6 where they can get their arena back in the game. Cause there's nothing going on in those power plays. Like, again, it's just boring and it's actually pathetic. It's actually pathetic. Now, to touch on your point about splitting these guys up, that's one way to fix it. And the other way to fix it is, again, I hate to do this. I feel like Smirky McSmirk is going to find where I'm at right now, and he's going to RKO me. Okay, straight up. But look at the stats. Look at the data. Why isn't the Canucks power play working? What do they got to do? Pettersson's got to wake up. Pettersson wakes up, the whole thing changes. It's actually the truth. Oh, but they got a lot of talent there outside of Pettersson. Bro, it doesn't matter. You're still the guy on the ice. He's still getting the puck a lot. And tonight there was about 3 to 4 chances where, again, pucks died on the stick on these power plays. And I just feel as if we keep looking at answers for the power play. Well, I guess you and I really haven't honed in on this concept on record. But I just keep circling back to you could split the units up, but if one of those units still have a struggling power play, I don't know. Dallas is 1.5, but their guys are probably finishing. They probably have more their star guys just doing it.
I still think that the big benefit to splitting up the power play is if one unit isn't going, hopefully the other one can get going. Right now, if the first unit's not going for the Canucks, the second unit isn't doing a lot either. They're not really maintaining possession. And sure, there's the chance that, neither power play unit's going, but is it any worse than it is right now? Not really.
Oh, man. Not really, man. I would be open to the change, man. And what if like, you can't see it, but in some alternate universe where Pettersson doesn't have Hughes and Miller, like he gets the puck a little bit more and maybe the lack of options, quote unquote, allows him to overthink less. And he's able to just like, again, have the puck on a stick and remind himself who he is. Just watch some highlights of yourself, man. Watch the best Pettersson highlights just before you go to bed tonight, and just sleep with that, and just keep repeating that video, time in and time out. Okay, just the truth. Okay, look at this comment from Nuxfan77. Okay, did the Canucks have to make a trade sooner than later? Okay, word is Alvin has been working the phones recently. It's gonna happen. We talked about this last week. We read that book. And we've looked at our notes. The trade is coming because the Canucks defense, it's only been 8 games, but soon it's going to be 14 and soon it's going to be 15. Okay. And right now the Canucks defense consists of Vincent Desharnais and Carson Soucy and Tyler Myers being really, really bad, really, really inconsistent. And because of it, it's not helping Vincent Desharnais' case at all. Like real talk, because you can't even really bench this guy because the other two guys are just so inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? But man, oh man, changes are going to come, and one of those changes is not going to involve Brandstrom. I'm convinced this guy's got it. This guy played Carolina today. I'm not saying he played a perfect game, but he was way better than Soucy. He was way better than Myers. He was way better than Vincent Desharnais. So yeah, changes are coming. And Trevor, I want your thoughts on this. You know, we talk about this every day. We're addicted to the Canucks, and it always changes. But when do you think Alvin's making a trade?
Yeah, I mean, I was leaning towards later in the season when there's going to be maybe some better value for those guys. Once you see if some teams, followed the race, a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, and honestly, I know it was not a good 2 games that they played against the Oilers and Canucks, but I watched both those games, and I thought Marcus Pettersson was one of the best players on the ice for the Penguins in both those games. So he's certainly got to watch. But I think Pittsburgh needs to follow to the race for that. But again, we've seen Alvin make moves earlier in the season. Again, last November, we're coming up to the month of November. Last November, he acquired Nikita Zadorov. Kyle, what about again, man? Any chance that Alvin says, you know what? Maybe we should have kept that Zadorov guy. I mean, you look at the Boston Bruins right now. They're not off to a good start. They're one of the lowest shooting teams in the league. Canucks use another defenseman. Maybe Boston and the Canucks want to do over on this one.
Dude, Zadorov would have looked good in a game like today at Zadorov's best, but Zadorov is he's still got a lot to prove. Just like the Canucks, like Zadorov was really good for 4 months. Like there's always been a floor to that guy, but he was really good for like not even 4 months, like 2 months. What am I talking about? And now he's got to prove that he can again be that guy and be worth that contract. And the whole DeBrus thing, we talked about this earlier today, right? And his fit on this team and the lack of finish, ironically, today, it could have been a moment for him. And there's just a lot of Jake DeBrus there. That's all I could say. And what are we're not unless he can evolve under Rick Tocchet. This is what you get in Jake DeBrus, and it's a little bit of I don't know, but the floor is good enough that he's not going to sink the team. And the playoff highlights again, go YouTube Jake DeBrus playoff highlights against Toronto. Maybe it's just a Boston versus Toronto thing. I hope not, but just watch his playoff highlights, and they're just so remarkable that you kind of know you need one of these guys in the playoffs. So I'm going to be very, very patient with Jake DeBrus, and he's been bounced around the lineup. He was on Pettersson's wing for a couple of games. Pettersson's not himself right now. He's Jake DeBrus. He's not Connor Garland. And look at this comment from SK93. Jake DeBrus needs to shake off that Jake DeRust. All that being said, he almost scored today, and he was pissed off. I like that. He broke his stick. He cares. But there was this one play in the first period that I did not like from Jake DeBrus. Brock Besser and him on the forecheck. You see the way Carolina plays. They attack everyone, right? It's one of those games. And Brock Besser in on the forecheck. Jake DeBrus is in on it as well, but he does somewhat of a flyby in the first period and doesn't really engage physically. And you kind of like look at this guy's size and look at like what he could bring to the home arena. And you just want more. You're like, finish your check, dude. But he's Jake DeBrus.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, maybe I'm too optimistic. It is early in the season, but I'm still believing in guys like DeBrus and Pettersson to pick it up. But I think shout out to Aaron Phillip in the comments asked an interesting question: if did the Canucks make a mistake choosing DeBrus over Nikita Zadorov? Again, Zadorov a little longer, a little older, just as long on the contract, pretty much the same price. That's an interesting comparison right there. See about Jacob Slavin isn't available from the Carolina Hurricanes. And Kyle, this might be one of my hot takes that no one cares about here because it's not really Canuck related. But Quinn Hughes gets a lot of credit. Obviously, won the Norris last year. For my money, though, Jacob Slavin might be the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. Yeah. Like, man, oh man, there's just the whole team is good at playing defense, but just nothing gets by Jacob Slavin. I mean, and the guy is he's always going to be underrated because he's not flashy, but just one of the most absolutely solid, smooth skating defensemen in the NHL and of this generation, to be honest.
Yeah, he just clean with it, man, and he's big too. Kind of reminds me of Ekholm a bit. He's just good, really, really solid, man. Really, really solid. And the Carolina Hurricanes, man, a good team. And give credit where credit is due. Again, we got to end off with a positive. This could get really dark if we keep yapping because I just want to talk about Tyler Myers and Vincent Desharnais. But let's end with a positive, okay, Trevor? As Matthew was saying, he's not too worried. They played decent and fought back and got a point against the great Carolina Hurricanes. I like that. I like that this team does not give up. Even when they don't have momentum, right? They just look at the clock when there's like 8 minutes left, and there's a possibility. There's a chance with this group. We touched on this earlier. They mainly get this opportunity in some of these games because their goaltending has been so Vezina-like over a long stretch of time, right? I feel like 80% of their start, they get quality, super elite starts, okay, from the goaltender, just keeping them in games. But just talk about the resolve from the skaters, okay? Take the goalie equation out of this. As a Canucks fan, you got to be proud of that. You gotta lean on that and confirm the fact that the culture in Vancouver and the Canucks in general, it's changed, and there's a good team here.
Kyle, for years, we would have killed for a night like tonight. And how many? It was about a decade where when we went into the third period of a hockey game and we were down by 2 goals against one of the best teams in the NHL, you felt like as a fan there was no chance in hell that this team was coming back. And I just want fans to remember that, because ever since the beginning of last season, that feeling has changed. And I think every time now when the Canucks are trailing in a third period of a game, even when they're down by two goals against one of the best teams in the NHL, you believe in this team to come back. And time again, they have come back and they have made it a fight. There were some incredible moments last season where they came back late in games to tie it up and force it to the extra frame. And the Canucks have brought that same kind of excitement, that same kind of tenacity this season. And it's not a team that gives up, right? And that's why you build a deep team from top to bottom, guys pushing each other. And again, lo and behold, it's fourth line center Pius Suter, overqualified fourth line center Pius Suter, getting the job done. So again, the Canucks, like Matthew said, points to 7 of their first 8. They never quit, they never give up, and that's why this team is making some goddamn noise this season.
As Philip on Live is saying, okay, the Canucks are momentum merchants. I don't mind that, because they're still when I say a young team, again, there's a lot to learn here. There's a lot to get used to. There's a lot to man up to in hockey sense, okay? Like, I'm not sitting here with rationality thinking that the Canucks are this elite contending team that's going to win for sure, okay? They can do it because of their ceiling, but based on their trajectory, it's the long-term approach, right? But I do think at one point, game in and game out, they may not give you consistent Carolina Hurricane like play, because those guys seem to be good like 90% of the time, but they're going to do it in their own way 99% of the time or 95% of the time. They're going to bring it when they get it all together. And at the same time of just being that, again, as Trevor and I just talked about, their will to not give up is some special stuff. That's some stuff you can't teach. That's the stuff that you can't read on the fancy stats, the calculator, the analytical stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's just some eye test and belief. And I feel as if we can count on 2 hands over the last 4 or 5 months of hockey. And maybe I'm over exaggerating to that, but they just seem to be one of those teams that has something special about it. And it goes down to, again, the core, the leadership, and their belief in each other, that they're never out of it. And that's an attribute that I want in the team that I'm cheering for.
The Canucks, they're making it worth your time, and we promise to do the same here on Locked On Canucks. Make it always worth your time, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener, a first-time listener, a new subscriber, or you joined us on the live show on YouTube. Kyle, I finally made the post-game show, and for you and you, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on podcast, we just appreciate the hell out of you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. More Canucks content in the blog, where you can also buy a shirt and design a shirt. I'm definitely getting an F the Oilers shirt for my daughter for Christmas. More on that on tomorrow's episode. But for now, I think we got to get out of here. Kyle, anything to say before we get out?
Go Canucks, go. I'm sorry for just chirping Pettersson like that. That's not me retracting my statements. Nothing. My name's Kyle Bound, and I approve of it. All what I said about Pettersson. Okay, I approve of that message. It's just go Canucks, go. And we're not I see comments trading this guy. We got to get rid of this guy. This guy's going to hit the LTIR for 8 years, bro. He's going to figure this out, and he has to in order for us to again. You know what I'm saying? Be consistent against great teams.
Buddy. Yeah.
Let's get out of here, Trevor.
Buddy.
Peace, 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 peace.
Yeah.
Bro,